Okay, we are online. Welcome, everyone. Like in Europe, it's still morning, but in most of Asia, it's not anymore. So welcome, everyone, to the continuation of our series of lectures. Today we have a truly distinguished guest with a huge overview of what kind of things we can do with treated wastewater. In Vietnam, well, indeed, as in most countries in the world, it is still a huge problem. And I'm personally looking forward a lot to learning new things. It's like in the course of my research and my studies, it is indeed a very important subject. So please, the floor is yours, and we are looking forward to new knowledge.
Okay, thank you. Let me see my presentation. And well, good morning, my colleagues from Ukraine, and good afternoon from my colleagues from Vietnam. And my name is Uông. I am working in Hanoi University of Science and Technology. You know that actually today Professor Hương will give her presentation. However, she was on the business, so that's I will be in charge of presentation today. Well, I actually this is not a research work, but we have reviewed a lot of the work from my college, and we will give you a story on the using twisted wastewater in Vietnam. This is a big issue in Vietnam now because most of the wastewater only twisted and discharged directly to the receiving water. So the question is that how the water was reused, and what is the status of wastewater reuse in Vietnam, particularly in the African country. And you know that because of untwisted wastewater or twisted wastewater was reused, it may make some harmful for the user, particularly for farmers and for customer as well. So why farmers in Vietnam has been used wastewater, and what is policy of Vietnam that could support for wastewater treatment, and anything can help for improve the reusing of treated wastewater now in Vietnam. So all of this issue will be talked today. Some may of you have visited Vietnam, but some may not. So here I wish to give you a brief information about Vietnam. As you can see here, this is a map of Vietnam. Vietnam is a long country, as you see here, and because of long country, so we have to separated by 63 cities and provinces along the country. And you can see here we have very long borders in close to the sea, and in the land we are close to the China, Laos, and Cambodia. And hopefully in the near future you may have chance to visit Vietnam, because it is anyhow a beautiful country, I think. And based on the data of the World Bank this year, and Vietnam population is over 98 million. As you can see here, more than 62% of popular was living in rural areas, remaining about 38% who are living in the urban. So that, as you can see here, the water will be used for farmers or for people into accounts because they will use a lot of water for their activity. The question is that because of a very huge demands for water using, so what is the situation for wastewater and how it was treated and how it can be disposed in the environment. But look back to the history. You know that in Vietnam, our farmers has very high experience on using wastewater in the agriculture because more than 100 years ago they have used and they can use for plantation, for fishery, for agriculture, or even they can use for rice and vegetable cultivation at a small scale or maybe a large scale. And in some area in Vietnam, especially in the rural area, actually wastewater has been considered as a source for agriculture, and they can use by many kinds of models such as biogas or VAC models. It means that gardens, fish pool, and a big style. And until now, you know, that's actually wastewater is continue or use in some area because of we are lacking the wastewater treatment plant, and even some areas we have wastewater treatment plant, but the treatment efficiency is not quite well now. So that is why the farmer in some area they has been used wastewater for their activity, especially in agriculture. And another reasons why wastewater has been reused in Vietnam because the farmer thinks that the wastewater can be used because it is a reliable source and it is very cheap. And moreover, in the wastewater, it can contain some nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus. So it is very helpful for plantation. So it can, as they think, it can somehow save the fertilizer for agriculture, and of course it can save some money for the farmer. So that is why some area the people still prefer to use wastewater directly to the agriculture. Actually, you know that in case of using wastewater, it can save some water supply. However, using untreated wastewater will give some risk for people, for environmental as well, because when using wastewater, it can contain some pathogen, and it will be available in the products which was shown in the market, then the customer will be affected as well. As you can see here, I will show you a picture that the farmers in Vietnam, they have used wastewater for irrigation of the vegetable. For example, here, as you can see in this picture, the wastewater come from the population area, and it will go to the small cannons, and finally it will go to the field. And as a fuel, the people will take directly the wastewater here, and the use for plantation, and somehow the products of vegetable after have was cleansed by sewage wastewater here. And the reason is that in this area, it is a lack of the clean or fresh water. So they have no choice. They have to use the wastewater here for cleaning the vegetable. And after cleaning, you can see here the products will be provided to the markets. And finally, the customer or other people will use unclean vegetable here. So of course, it will be not good for the health. But anyhow, this is still existing in some area in Vietnam. That is a big issue for our life. And here is some information regarding to the health risk of farmer when they use wastewater in agriculture. Of course, we agree that wastewater reuse could provide some benefits. It can save fresh water. It can somehow save some fertilizer for plantation. However, it is obviously that wastewater will cause the health risk to people. And one of very important information that many studies in Vietnam, they have taken the sample from the wastewater before using for for agriculture, and also they have taken many sample of vegetable and other products of agriculture, and they determine that several pathogens such as E. coli or Giardia and another pathogen was found in many kinds of samples. And it is obviously that those pathogens will have a strong effects to the health, and especially it can cause the waterborne disease for people and for farmers as well, especially for the customer who use directly the unclean products from agriculture, which was use wastewater. And in this day, we know that COVID-19 has affects a lot of the activity in the world and in Vietnam as well. And many research has determined that COVID virus SARS-CoV-2 has been available in the wastewater. So in case of some area, the water bodies receiving the wastewater come from the for hospital or some area that maybe have COVID-19 inside. So of course, it will be a very high risk for the people, even for farmer and somehow for products which was used wastewater containing COVID-19. So that is one issue. So the management and the policy has been take care about this. And compared to the wastewater in Vietnam, actually, you know that even most of the people in Vietnam living in the urban area, in the rural area, and remaining living in the urban area. However, you know that in Vietnam, most of the wastewater most of big wastewater treatment plant has been constructed in the urban area. So that's in this talk, I will focus on the urban wastewater management in Vietnam. And here is the diagram that can give you an information that the wastewater come from the urban areas was collected by two kinds of system. Uh, uh, One very popular is a combination of sewage system. That means that it can collect all of wastewater come from the domestic and for other activities and even from the rainwater. And finally, they was go to the wastewater treatment plant for treatment. And remaining, it was not collected and it may go directly to the receiving water. And you know that unfortunately, only 10% of wastewater was treated in the treatment plant, and most of them, about 90%, was go to the environmental directly. This is an evaluation of the World Bank conducted in 2013. Actually, in 2018, Ministry of Construction of Vietnam has conducted another evaluation, and they show that nowadays about 13% of wastewater was treated in a big wastewater treatment plant. It means that remaining about 87% of untreated wastewater was go to the environmental. It means that the people in Vietnam in some area has been use untreated wastewater for their activity. And here is a diagram show you very popular combination drainage and sewage system in Vietnam, in most of the city in Vietnam. As you can see here, all of the wastewater from the house, from high buildings, from other services, and even from the rainstorm was collected to the communities. And finally, it will go to the treatment plant. And after treatment, they go to the receiving water. And in the receiving water here, mostly is rivers or lake or reservoirs. Then the wastewater there was taken for another activity in agriculture and another work of people. And you know that since only 10 or 13% was treated, so remaining untreated wastewater also come to this kind of receiving wastewater. So anyhow, using the wastewater, using the water in the receiving here may be low quality or somehow high quality. It's depending on the area that receives the treated wastewater or untreated wastewater. And you know that because of the loss of wastewater in Vietnam was not treated, the reason is that most of the wastewater treatment plant was only constructed in big city. And here is some information that I wish to provide you that until now, around 43 urban wastewater treatment plants has been constructed in big cities such as Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, Đà Nẵng, Quảng Ninh, Vinh, or another cities. And you know that until now, the total capacity is over 926,000 cubic meters per day. And luckily that we are having 40 new wastewater treatment plants under design and construction, and it can have to increase the total capacity of the treatment of the wastewater treatment plant up to 1,600,000 cubic meters per day. So it is also can have to increase the percentage of wastewater can be treated. And because of most of the wastewater in the city was treated in the big wastewater plant. So here I wish to share with you that the situation of the concentrated wastewater treatment plant in Vietnam. As you can see here, this is a result from an evaluation of World Bank conducted in 2013. It shows that shows the results for 15 plants, and you can see here that most of the actual wastewater come to the plants was much lower than the design capacity. And for example, you can see here in case of one very big wastewater treatment plant in Hanoi is you can see here number 4. The design capacity of this wastewater plant is around 200,000 cubic meter per day. But the actual wastewater come to the plant is only around 120,000 cubic per day. It means that only around 60% of the work the plant has been operated under the capacity. So that is one of the very different for operation. And as you can see, another plant also the same situation. And one very special case is in Bình Hưng plants here. You can see the actual wastewater was over than the design capacity. It was happened because of different kind of collecting wastewater. So even here you can see that most of the plants has been working under the design capacity. However, we found one plant has been working over capacity. And this is information for you that the information regarding to the influence and influence of some parameter which was treated in 15 wastewater treatment plant in Vietnam. And the first you can see here is very important to show you that in Vietnam there are two kinds of sewage system. The first and most popular is combined sewage system. For example, in Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh, Da Nang, Quảng Ninh. And it's very interesting that we also have a separate sewage system. It works in Đà Lạt. As you can see here, it was in Đà Lạt and Buôn Mê Thuột. So what is the difference between two systems here? As you can see, when we use a combined sewage system, you can see here the influence concentration of BOD, COD, TSS, ammonia, and total nitrogen and other substances is very low. For example, influence of BOD is just varying from 37 to around 135 milligram per liter. In that case, total nitrogen is very high, for example, 40 or even more than 30 milligram per liter. It means that the ratio of nitrogen and the ratio of carbon source and nitrogen is very low. Even here you can see one for big plants, for example, for instance, the UD is only 45, but for TN is 34. So it means that BUD per CUD ratio is only 1.3. Because of all of the wastewater treatment plant here using some biological technology, for example, using the conventional activated starch, or you SBR, or use A2O. So all of them need sufficient carbon source for maintain stable treatment system. It means that due to very low beauty in the influence, so that it is normally not effective for removal of the nitrogen and phosphorus. So all of all of the wastewater treatment in Vietnam now has faced that difficulty. And as you can see here, in case of Đà Lạt and Buôn Ma Thuột here, because they use a separate sewage system, so you can see it's much difference from beauty in the influence between the separate sewage system and the combined sewage system. As you can see here, the beauty can increase to 380, 380 milligram per liter. And compared nitrogen and some other nutrients, and it can see that the ratio of beauty and nitrogen was increased significantly. So it may have the system operated if stable and effectively. And and you can see that because when we construct the wastewater treatment plants, the main aim is to have the wastewater in the effluents must be met the national regulation. For example, in case of domestic wastewater, we are applied the national regulation number 14 issued in 2008, and in this regulation, the some value of some parameters such as ammonia, nitrates, or phosphates will be about 10, 15, 50, or 10 milligram per liter respectively. So it means that most of the treated wastewater only through the environment to the receiving water, and we did not make the aims of reusing the treated wastewater here. And besides that, because of the nitrogen and phosphorus in the influence is not treated effectively. First, in the treated wastewater is still high. So for sure, when we discharge those of treated wastewater to the environmental, it will contribute to the eutrophication in the receiving water. And as analysis above, we see that because of the combined sewage system, so the CN ratio in the influence of the wastewater is very low. So that is main reasons makes ineffective. It means that nitrogen and phosphorus must be improved in the process. And some plants, the operator has provide some kind of carbon source such as phosphorus remover. However, that's adding some kind of carbon source, it will make to increase the cost of operation. Then somehow it is not welcome by the operator because they feel that it is not enough financing for the operation. And the main thing is in this case is that after treatment, the treated wastewater is directed to the environmental, and reusing treated wastewater was not taken into account for the purposes of the treatment plant. And another issue is that most of the nutrients in the wastewater was escaped to the environmental because that nitrogen in the influence somehow will be oxidized and reduced to the nitrogen, go to the atmosphere. Another part may go to the source, and remaining is will go to the environmental. And the phosphorus is the same. Most of them will go to the source, and remaining will current situation of wastewater treatment in Vietnam, we may lose two things. The first is treated wastewater. The second is we may lose some of nutrients. So the question is that whether we can improve or we can change the purpose of treatment of wastewater treatment plant now in Vietnam. And that it is not easy to apply, but we can carry it in some research work. And nowadays we are regarding to this issue. It means that we try to treat the domestic wastewater to match the regulation, and then we can use the treated wastewater for plantation, and also we collect the nitrogen and phosphorus from during the treatment, and we also use it as one kind of fertilizer for plantation as well. And it is ongoing project, and hopefully very soon we will make a small treatment plan like that, and we can have some data to show you later on. And because of this is a big issue in Vietnam, so that we need to review the policy for our wastewater treatment plan. And luckily that in Vietnam nowadays we have improved 7 law regarding to the environment. For example, as a law on environmental protection, it was first issued in 2005, and last year it was improved and updated to new law of environmental protection. And besides that, we also have a law on the water resources. It was first issued in 2012, and it was updated last year, 2020. And all of those laws, they were encouraged to reduce and also encouraged to collection and recycling and reuse the waste, including the treated wastewater. And also they encourage the technology for treating and recycling the waste, including wastewater, even in the small or big scale. And one important thing that the urban wastewater must be treated effectively by means of increase more big wastewater treatment plant in the city first, and slowly it will be built for the rural area. And wastewater is not allowed to reuse because they mentioned that the effluents must be treated efficiently. Whenever they met the national regulation, then it can be reused for another purposes. And another important thing that they encourage to select and develop the wastewater of the popular technology, for example, biological technology was used. And slowly, more modern technology can be used, for example, membrane technology. And in that case, it's for sure it will improve the quality of the treated wastewater, and it will be valuable for reuse, not only for agriculture but for other purposes. And finally, that's actually in Vietnam now we are confusing the terms. Somewhere they use wastewater reuse, but actually by the law and by many documents regarding to the environmental, wastewater is not allowed to reuse, but the treated wastewater can be reused. So here, actually, we need to make sure, otherwise the people may be confused. And it is obviously that once the treated wastewater was reused, it can serve as a reliable waste the water source. And in other words, it can save the water, the fresh water. It is obviously. And also, in case of reusing wastewater, it can have to reduce the pollution of the receiving water. And besides that, treated wastewater can contain some useful nutrients. So a nutrient from the treated wastewater, it can help to reduce some kind of fertilizer for agriculture. Anyhow, it may open a large chance for environmental technology. However, that as I mentioned above, to apply this concept to the real is not easy at all. It should start from small work first. So that is why we are conducting some research work in this direction, and hopefully very soon we will have some good results and some more data about this topic. Then at that time we may have another chance to share with you. And finally, that very thanks to the intense program for inviting me to join this webinar series. Actually, in this event, Professor Hương will show you. However, because it was busy, so I have to do this time. And more important that we are thanks for funding from Laser Punch, who supports us ongoing projects on the recirculation of the treated water as a sustainable solution for plantation. And as I told you that, as I told you, well, we are doing on this project, and hopefully it will be hopefully very soon we will get some useful information about this. And finally, thanks so much for the attention. And because COVID-19 still affects us strongly, so please stay safe and healthy. And hopefully, as sometimes later we have chance to meet each other face to face. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you a lot. And I'll also thank you for your kind and warm words. Indeed, it's still our hope to be able to meet friends and colleagues and travel the world. And yeah, let's hope that it will become true, hopefully in the next year. So still lots of hope that the next year will be better than this one. Thank you so much. It was extremely enlightening. I was able to visit Vietnam only once in my life, but your lecture again made very vivid the issues of especially of countryside areas in the country, and brought quite some understanding of what is behind the landscape. Thank you so much. So this is the time for questions. Please go ahead with them. If you feel shy to do them aloud, please type them in the chat, and I will read them for the audience and for the lecturer. But otherwise, please just unmute yourself and shoot your question. Please.
Well, any question? We are happy to clarify any question from you.
Just before question started, I have a question of a little bit more geographical nature. And if you compare the northern delta area and the southern one, what's the biggest difference in wastewater production in these areas in terms of quality and quantity, perhaps? Is it like how much they're similar?
Well, actually, you know, the wastewater is not allowed to reuse in Vietnam. That is determined by law. That is for sure. But why the people and especially the farmer has still use wastewater for their activity, because in some area they have no choice, because they have not enough clean or fresh water, so they must use the wastewater. However, in case of using the wastewater in their mind, they feel that they have used this so far, so they still keep in mind that they can be they still can use wastewater for their activity. However, you know that it may make a lot of health risks, and they also know about that, but because of the condition. So as I told you that somehow they have to use.
Yeah, thank you. And are there any geographical differences in wastewater reuse patterns? Vietnam, it's quite a long stretch of land from subtropics on the north to tropical landscape on the south. So like it still makes any differences in terms of waste water generation and reuse in households?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. You know that in Vietnam, most of the wastewater finally will go to the river, because the river in Vietnam go from the north, from the east to from the west to the east, and because for overruns, most of the wastewater from urban was collected and treated. However, only 15% was treated. It means that remaining around 80% untreated wastewater was go to directly to the river or somewhere. So finally, at the end, the people under the wastewater source has to use the wastewater, maybe diluted with the river water. But anyhow, the quality is not good. That is sure, because this is confirmed by the monitoring data. But as you know that some areas they still have to use those low quality of the water for their activity. And in case of domestic, in case of living of water used for their life, normally it was supplied by the water treatment plant. And some of areas they can use fresh water, but some of areas, especially in the rural area, they may use from groundwater water, or even they can use from surface water. Of course, they have to use some simple treatment plants at a small scale, just for family scale. However, the quality is not controlled. It's depend on their experience. Yeah, that is the situation in Vietnam now.
Yeah,
Mostly
thank you a
in
lot. Yeah. Any other questions? Sorry. Any other questions? I don't see any questions in the chat, and I assume that someone would have enough time to type them. So any questions you want to ask aloud, please just unmute yourself and go ahead.
Welcome. Any question?
I would assume that the talk was very clear, and indeed it was. Thank you again for joining us. Your lecture was absolute delight to hear. I enjoyed it a lot, and so I believe everyone here. And dear audience, please welcome to the continuation of our webinar. We are still having some interesting stuff every week till the end of this month. The last talk will be only on the 29th of December. And until then, you are more than welcome to follow us. And thank you again for joining us. Like, health and good Christmas mood to everyone. And see you in a week. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Wen. Bye bye, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye, everyone.